Uh, to give an introduction about ma'am, Dr. Sunil Kaushal has a rich experience of 40 years practicing obstetrics and gynecology at Jalandhar, Punjab. Although she has been writing sporadically since her childhood, her writings were studied in schools all over India. Her father being an army officer, her nomadic life is living in new towns every 2 years have been interestingly chronicled in her debut book of memoirs, which is called Gypsy Wanderings and Random Reflections. She's been published in a number of national and international anthologies, and some of her poems have been translated in French, German, and Greek. Among her list of achievements, I will only be able to list a few. She was honored with the Enchanting Muse Award International and Fellow of the Regal World of Stripes by the Fantasy Bee Poetry Group. Her poems have been featured in the Limca Book of Records as part of the Amravati Poetic Prism 2018. And her memoirs, Gypsy Wanderings and Random Reflections, has been awarded the Nizam Award by the Significant League International for its exquisite prose. Thank you so much, ma'am. It is indeed an honor to have you as part of the panel.
Thank you for having me, Priyanka. It's a real honor.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Our next panelist is Mrs. Neelam Saxena Chandra. She works as an additional divisional railway manager, Pune. She has 4 novels, 1 novella, and 6 short story collections to her credit, including 31 poetry collections and 13 children's books as well. She holds a record with the Limca Book of Records 2015 for being the author having the highest number of publications in a year in English and Hindi. She has received the Sohanlal Dwivedi Award for Children's Literature by Maharashtra State Hindi Sahitya Academy for the year 2018, the Humanity International Women Achievers Award 2018, the Bharat Nirmal Literary Award in 2017, and the Premchandra Award by Ministry of Railways, along with other awards and honors. She was listed in Forbes as one among the 78 most popular authors in the country in 2014. Her short story collection, Lines of Faith, remained in the top 10 on bestsellers on Amazon India since its release. Kai Basant Dekhe Hain Humne, her poetry collection was #1 and it received bestseller tag from Amazon. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining here. It is such a privilege to have you again, to interact with you again on this platform. Our third panelist is Mrs. Gauri Dikshit. Gauri Dikshit, when not busy working in her office, is busy being a traveler, climbing mountains, walking on untrodden paths, capturing nature, sometimes the setting sun or the sea in her camera, and also weaving them in her words. Her poems speak in a voice which is unique, cold, and direct. She's been a part of many anthologies and is a Rural Prize awardee and has commendable mention at Destiny's Poet. In her first book, In My Skin, I Find Freedom, there are poems on varied subjects, yet there is a common thread of a skeptical questioning and mind of a free woman. It's so interesting to have you all here. Gauri Dikshit ma'am, thank you for joining us here again today. And we look forward to the conversation with you. To welcome
Thank
so
you.
we have Ankita here.
Thank you, Priyanka. My pleasure.
Yes, Priyanka.
Happy to be here.
Yes. So to moderate the session, I would like to invite Ankita Singh. Ankita Singh is an assistant professor of English literature in MIT World Peace University. She's a gold medalist from Pune University. Apart from teaching, she also conducts poetry and creative writing workshops across Pune and has worked with institutions like Bharati Vidyapeeth, St. Mira's, and Symbiosis. She is also the co-founder of Pune-based poetry forum called Baitak and Beyond, which is organized for young artists to get a platform to perform, shape, and express their poetic talent in a myriad of languages. Thank you so much, Ankita, for joining us.
Thank you, Priyanka.
And without further ado, over to you. We are awaiting to hear from all of you.
Thank you, Priyanka. Good afternoon to all the lovely ladies and all the people in the audience who are listening to this. I'm sure you're going to benefit from this as much as I am going to. So without further ado, let's begin with the session. So the topic of the session is evolution of poetry. So my first question to all the teachers and all the ladies here is that, what does poetry mean to you? I mean, poetry is supposed to be the oldest art form. It's the finest of the fine arts. So after so many years, like thousands of years, what has it come to today? So what does it mean to you? Sunil ma'am, we'll begin from you. What is your definition of poetry and what has it come to today?
See, I'm a poet by default. I'm not a student of literature, but it just so happened that from childhood, all I wanted to do was read books. And reading led on to that, that blossoming from inside of a child wanting to express in a certain form. And I had the knack of rhyming words. And so I would write small limericks or small rhyming poems like a child does. But gradually, as I was growing up, as an adolescent and then as a woman, I realized that this was a beautiful channel for my core self to express itself. So it was an emotional outlet. It was a creative urge that was pushing itself. And fortunately or unfortunately, I went into medicine. And being an obstetrician, I was coming across so many women, thousands of them, and each one had a story. So I have many thousand stories inside me, carrying from those women. And I want to tell them in some form.
So basically poetry, telling your own story. That is what it is.
I make it my story because I feel it so deeply. But it is gathered from all over the world. I'm at an age when I've gathered so many years of stories. So there's a lot I've experienced. The experience counts as well. You come across so many people, you travel so much, you work that much, you live that much. See, I have lived for that long, that I have been through almost everything life has to offer, good or bad, high, low, everything. So there's a lot to pour out.
Living and experiencing, I'll also come back to this question once again later, once we move on from this question. So I'll direct the question to Neelam Chandra ma'am. Ma'am, please describe what does poetry mean for you, how significant it is for you, and what do you think is the condition or the situation of poetry today in today's contemporary world?
See, poetry, just as Sunil ji said, it is more of my journey, and right now it is my inner journey. Though earlier I've written on various topics, and my inner journey makes me write inspiring poems more, because though earlier I was writing a few dark poems also, and there are many, and I've highlighted many social issues and everything. But finally, ultimately, I find solace in my inner journey right now. Maybe it will change again because it has changed. I was first published when I was in class 8. So that time the problems were exams and going away of electricity. So I used to write on such topics. But poetry has evolved along with me. It has grown along with me.
That is beautiful. So basically, poetry is like the topic of our session. Poetry evolves within you also, like apart from the generic, in a generic sense, poetry evolves, but it also evolves with you. That is beautiful.
Yes, indeed. So this is the first thing. And you were asking about the evolution of poetry. Well, yes. I'm again not a literary student, though I did have a inner conversation whether I wanted to either choose between journalism or engineering. Right. But because I loved maths as much as I loved English. So it was a very difficult choice.
Combination.
Yeah, it was a very different kind of combination. Yeah. So I didn't really know what to choose, but finally I chose engineering because somewhere deep in my heart I wanted to be an engineer, and I'm proud to be an engineer today. And I'm also proud to be a poet, which I kept carrying along with me. Initially the poems used to be hidden in diaries. Now they're out in the form of 32 poetry books now.
That is so nice, ma'am. Directing the question to Gauri ma'am. Ma'am, please describe your journey and what does it mean to you to be a poetess?
I have been a introvert, a quiet child. So in school as well, it was difficult for me, perhaps, to make friends. And because of my father's job, we used to move from school to school, from city to city. So never got enough time. So all that time, books were my friends. I would read everything that came my way, actually. And then poetry became a medium of expression for me. It gave me a sense of belonging that I was perhaps missing from this nomadic existence,
Wow.
and also a sense of freedom for me. So that's what poetry means to me. And now I cannot imagine a life without poetry.
Poetry. That is so beautiful, ma'am. So, catching on from this very point that you've made, that poetry was expression to you. So, where do we draw the line today? You know, because we are so exposed to numerous, things online, on social media, everywhere. So, the youngsters today, the people, the budding poets today, they have to draw a line between expression and the need for validation. So where do you draw the line? How do you understand that this feeling is actually not premature, or this is something that needs to be expressed, and this, or this is not something that I should write right now. I should let it mature. How do you draw that line?
So, see, poetry for me actually is silence, and it is also about the pause that you kind of find in the day-to-day life. I would say. So that is where I have been in a phase where when I started writing poetry, I would perhaps write everything that I saw, everything that I experienced as poems. And most of those poems, perhaps I would not be too proud of them to read any of those today.
Yes.
Lot of them became, kind of rants or kind of reporting what I've seen, right?
So is it
But it
important to
all
write
comes
this?
with experience. You think about those, you reflect upon those experiences, and that is when you actually start thinking poetry and then start writing poetry. So it is absolutely not necessary to write everything. That is what I realized after a few of my initial poems, Ankita, and that's where, when I started giving importance or started feeling those pauses, that is when, I started writing poetry, I would say. And that is what perhaps today's youth also need to do, and it will come with experience and
That is so nice,
maturity.
like hitting the pause button, just like poetry. The
Yeah.
poetry exists in the pauses. So I think in life too, that works pretty well. Moving on, I
Absolutely.
would like to direct this question to Kaushal ma'am, Sunil Kaushal ma'am. Ma'am, given your years of experience with poetry, how do you think is observation? How important is observation and experience in the field of poetry?
See, I was a very studious child, and obviously that's how I became a doctor. But
Yeah.
I was a very observant person. Like even now, if I am taken on a drive on a new route, I will be able to tell you the landmarks at once. It's a sort of a memory thing I have. And I was very observant. So whatever I saw or I felt that the other person is going through, my inner journey was parallel with the external journey. I was I was absorbing like an emotional sponge. I was absorbing what was happening in the outer world. Not all of it. I'm very selective, like politics, religion, and all that. I'm very selective. That's out of my arena. But the human element, and because as a doctor, I was dealing with human beings, sufferings, joys, and a very personal interaction with all those women. So it was more like I've always been more like a family member to my patients, less a doctor, but more as a friend and as a family member. So I had a very intimate peep into human nature, human sufferings, human feelings, reactions. So that was building up. My experience bank was building up. And that is what is pouring out sometimes. But I let those, earlier I would, like Gauri has said, that she would write everything. If I look back on some of my poems about 30, 40 years ago, they are like stepchildren. I don't want to look at them.
Right. We have all been there.
I'm embarrassed. I mean, not that stepchildren should be treated badly, but just a phrase. And
Right.
I am embarrassed by what I used to write. But those steps are also necessary because you are also growing as a person. And your observations, your experiences, your own feelings, whatever life is offering you, all that adds on to your poetry writing. So now it is a very big bank built up. I don't have the time enough to write all that.
So, ma'am, how do you balance between what you have observed, little things that you have observed every day and putting them into the technique of writing? Is it something that is gifted or is it something that you build somewhere? And if you have any poem to, lay this out, please recite. It would be lovely for us to hear you, something that offers insight about observations, something like that.
See, my father was in the army and we traveled all over India and we lived in cantonments and all. We were hardly taken back to Punjab, which is my homeland, because Punjab was considered very backward those days. At least that's what my father thought. And he was one of those, going through that post-colonial era. So he still had those notions of, sophistication or advancing or ambitions about raising his standard of life and his children. So we were very rarely taken to Punjab, but my grandparents used to live there and we were sometimes taken and we spent a few days. And those became a very valuable memory for me because for years till I joined medical college, I had not lived in Punjab, which was very late. It was I was 17 years old and later I became a Punjabi by residence. So I have written a poem about my village.
Okay.
It is more from what I have observed, not really what I have lived, but I have written it like I have lived it.
Okay. That would be lovely, ma'am. Please recite.
So, इस कविता का नाम है रामगढ़ है जिसका नाम। रामगढ़ मेरे गांव का नाम है। मेरे दादा दादी वहां रहा करते थे। दादा दादी रहा करते थे जहाँ, छुट्टियों में हम भी जाया करते थे वहां। गर्मियों की लंबी आलसी दोपहरी में खामिद सी रोटी दही के साथ गटक जाते ठंडी लस्सी का एक बड़ा गिलास और सो जाते दादी के चबारे में बचपन की बेफिक्री का ओढ़े लिहाफ। खुली खिड़कियों में से हवा से होड़ लगाए चहचहाती अंदर आ जाती थी चिड़ियों की टोलियां। खेतों खलियानों में सावन के गानों पे झूमती मुटियारे डाल के गिद्दे बोलियां। खुशबू आती अपनों के प्यार की, रिश्तों के दुलार की। उस भले जमाने में एक छोटा सा गांव था मेरा, रामगढ़ था नाम। शाम होते दादी हमें बटियारन के यहाँ लेकर जाती, गरम गरम चने और मकई के दाने भुनवाती और एक बड़े सारे सफेद रुमाल में भर के बेर भेजती दादा के हाथ। ना तोल मोल ना दाम, छोटे से उस गांव में रामगढ़ है जिसका नाम। और एक बाल्टी पर लाल कपड़ा लिपेट कुल्फी वाला भी आया करता। क्या हरे हरे पत्तों पर खुरच खुरच कर सफेद कुल्फी हमें खिलाता। उंगलियां चाटते ठुड्डी तक लार टपकाते घूमते फिरते फिरकी घुमाते, रात से पहले हम घर आ जाते, फिर खाना खाते और छत पर जाकर बिस्तर बिछाते। तो दादी बरामदे के लट्टू का बटन दबाकर डूबते सूरज को कर प्रणाम कहती, वाहिगुरु सतनाम, पाखी घुमाती, कहानी सुनाती, ले जाती हमें परियों के धाम। छोटे से उस गांव से रामगढ़ है जिसका नाम। सुबह सवेरे सूरज की किरणें जब आंखें गुदगुदाती तो दादी छत पर केतली में चाय लेकर आती, कप में चुस्की लगा लगा खुद पीती और प्लेट में फूंक मार मार कर हमें पिलाती। बस शुरू हो जाता एक और दिन का दौर, खाना पीना खेलना सोना। कहाँ चाहिए था हमें कुछ और, लेकिन जाने का दिन नजदीक जो आता जाता, बिना वजह हमें रोना आता। फिर दादी बाजार लेकर जाती है, कपड़े खिलौने, और मायाराम की दुकान से बर्फी पेड़े हमें दिलाती है। रेल में बैठ फिर धरते थे बड़े शहरों में अपने पांव, छोड़े आते पीछे रामगढ़, छोटा सा वो मेरा गांव। पल बढ़कर बड़े शहरों में गए, फिर बरसों के बाद बड़ा बाईपास निगल चुका था, सभी खेत और कल्याण। मेरे गांव का दिल चीरती निकल रही थी सड़क महान। कहीं मॉल, कहीं होटल, कहीं मल्टीप्लेक्स बने, और मायाराम की दुकान के यहाँ एक फास्ट फूड्स का फूड कोर्ट था बना, जिसमें फास्ट फूड्स के नाम पर केमिकल्स का भंडार भरा। समुंदर बन आंखों से बह निकला, पानी को मैं सकी न थाम, याद कर अपने उस गांव को, रामगढ़ है जिसका नाम। सतलुज दरिया का सूखा पानी, मर गई थी मछली सारी। याद कर करके मैं जब फैक्ट्रियां लगी तो प्रसाद में केमिकल्स का, प्रसाद मिला केमिकल्स का भारी। बबूल काट काट सफेदा लगा था, उसे भी अब काट गिराया। 4-वे लेन बनाने जर्मनी से मैन पावर और मशीनें भी था आया। बहरा हो गया आसमान, सुन सुन सैकड़ों ट्रकों का शोर। ऊंची ऊंची इमारतें ना देखने देती चढ़ता सूरज, ना सुनहरी भोर। मंदिर से आवाज न सुने भजनों की, ना आजान की मस्जिद से। आंखें ढूंढे कोई अपना, मिला ना कोई उनका निशान। ना जाने कहाँ खो गया वो, रामगढ़ है जिसका नाम। फेरी वाला अब भी आता, पॉपकॉर्न और चिप्स के पैकेट लाता, और उसमें बंद बासीपन को बूढ़ा जवान सभी चिटकारे लगा लगा के खाता। भटियारन मरी, उजड़ी बेरियां, मोर भी मर गए सारे। रातों को छत पर बच्चों को ढूंढते भटके हैं चंदा मामा और सितारे। खिड़कियों में लगे एसी चिड़ियों को अपना अंदर आने देते। बंद कमरों में लेटे लेटे बच्चे टीवी या वीडियो देखे लेटे लेटे। रात होते सज सवर कर लड़के लड़कियां डिस्को जाते। मम्मी पापा जॉब से आए, उसके भी वो बाद में आते। दारू नशों में धुत, पहचाने ना अपनी दलान। उसी राम के गांव में जिसका रामगढ़ है बस नाम ही नाम। दादा दादी की मेरे बचपन की यादें जुड़ी उस मिट्टी से। जाना तो होगा बारंबार, घर तो मेरा वही रहेगा। I get a little sentimental.
Of course, ma'am. It's understandable.
घर तो मेरा वही रहेगा, चाहे घूमे आओ सारा संसार। ये शोरगुल और तामझाम चाहे बन गई इसकी निशान, फिर भी मेरे लिए रामगढ़ रहेगा वही मेरा छोटा सा गांव. Thank you. So that was my village, Ramgarh.
इसमें
Thank
कुछ
you.
बोलना तौहीन होगी इसकी, बिल्कुल. इतनी खूबसूरती से आपने सुनाया है, ये सबको अपने बचपन की गर्मी की छुट्टियां याद आ गई. और उससे लेकर अभी तक की जो मतलब ये जर्नी है, उसको आपने बहुत अच्छे से ऑब्जर्व किया है. एक एक छोटी छोटी चीजें, दुकानों से लेके, सड़कों से लेके, छतों से लेके, सब कुछ. आई थिंक ये इसी को पोइट्री बोलते हैं, छोटी छोटी चीजें जो.
That was the way people lived those times.
Moving on to the next question. यहाँ पे सारी ladies हैं, we are all ladies here, and I just want to talk about, ma'am, my question was about gender barriers faced by women in this, women, transgenders, you know, people in this field who have to deal with one extra kind of barrier apart from, you know, the general psychological or linguistic barriers that we generally face as poets. So can you please shed some light on that? And if you have something, you know, to recite, please do so. We also want to hear you. We'll have a nice poetry session also alongside. Okay, over to you, ma'am.
Sure, Ankita. I think gender barriers are very strong. They are inbuilt in our society. And they're not only in our country, but all over the world. The intensity may vary. In some countries, it may be less. In some countries, it may be more. But it is surely there. And right from the moment we are born, we realize these barriers. Of course, nowadays, some parents are taking special care that their children don't face those issues. But I suppose in our generation, we were grown to just be wives to somebody. And I simply hated the thought कि मैंने कई अपने रिश्तेदारों को देखा था कि the girls used to get married, and I don't say that the work is less, but if they had some other aims, they were just said कि you can't do anything, and they had no choice. If it is a matter of choice, like I have friends who by choice want to be a homemaker, so that's fine. So the important thing is choice. So that choice was missing. Things are certainly changing, and poets like us can make a deep impact on the minds of people. And as you said, I'll render a poem here. And I suppose the poem is strong enough to invoke certain feelings. It is about infanticide, female infanticide, female feticide. So the poem is titled Tearful Adieu. Mom, so secured was I in your womb. My life inside you was a real miracle. My tiny feet swam in glee. My little hands cuddled you merrily. My toothless mouth would often giggle and cackle. Mom, so happy was I in your womb. But one day, some quivering clatters I could hear. I heard someone scream and roar, I don't want daughters anymore. I sobbed. Mom, how could I smile in your womb when I'd understood that being a daughter was so bad? My little eyes cried and heart yelled. Something in me had already failed. Alas, I realized that I would soon be dead. Mom, though I shall no longer dwell in your womb, your warmth and affection I shall surely miss. To you, I shall not lie. I had not expected to die, but fate had in store for me this deathly kiss. Mom, so happy I am to have been a part of your womb, although the togetherness was destined as a short boon. As death pounces and approaches near, I bid you a tearful adieu, Mom dear. May 100 sons be born to you soon. May 100 sons be born to you soon. Thank you.
That was very, very powerful, ma'am. And I love the way you recite it with such vigor and such energy. I think we need that. And from that very point of view, I'll ask you another question, Neelam ma'am. One small question, like what is the importance of performance in poetry? Is it important today? Because we have page poets as well, and spoken word artists today. So do you think, is anyone better than the other, or is it okay to just write poetry on pages and not
No.
recite? Yeah.
I think there are different forms. Art has different forms. Like you can't compare a poetry to acting, or you can't compare acting to painting. Same
Right.
way, there are different forms of poetry. So
Poetry.
certain poems look good when read. Certain poems look wonderful when recited or narrated. And of course, the third form, which is coming up, is spoken poetry. But as long as it is poetry, I'm happy with it. And personally, I may not like using the slangs and all which are coming up in poems, but that is my personal choice.
Personal
I'm not judgmental, and I
Right.
don't judge.
So nice. Like I think poetry is the least of it's the field that has to be least judgmental, because it's all about expression. So
Exactly.
that was lovely,
Exactly.
ma'am. Moving on to Gauri ma'am. You had mentioned in the earlier talk that you were an introvert child and you wanted to express things. So my question is about kids who are introverts today and they need to express. And as parents and as people from the elder generation, how do you inculcate these values about writing poetry, about documenting your feelings and everything? How do you do that? How do you inculcate that in the new generation?
Yeah, so I think in the newer generation, also there are a lot of technological advances, right? And a lot of devices have come to them, right? And that take a lot of time in terms of and attention. So the attention spans are becoming kind of lower, right? So in that sense, they may not take well if you tell them write in a diary every day, right? But instead, if you tell them maintain your own social media account and start putting some updates on a daily basis, and not really where you have gone and things like that, but what you saw during the day, what you would otherwise write in a diary. Why don't you use social media for that? I think one of the things could be that. And also poetry workshops, I believe, have usually worked very well. And I have seen some schools and colleges actually for children doing poetry workshops, wherein few kids who will not otherwise express pick up poetry and then start writing. So giving them a nudge in that direction will definitely help, because expression is very important. Things kept inside are not healthy, right?
Of course, ma'am. Right. That is very true.
So
Ma'am,
from that, sorry, go ahead, please.
Ma'am, if you have a piece with you, related to something like this, something that is not really talked about, or, something that can help the younger people to, relate to this field more and, we open up and express more, something like that, please share with us.
Sure. So maybe, like I said, even I started writing as a medium of expression. So there's one poem that I wrote. It is called Less of a Woman. Okay. So am I audible?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you're perfectly audible.
Yes.
So the poem is called Less of a Woman. I'm not exotic, nor am I neurotic. I am not exotic, nor am I neurotic. I do not have blue eyes. I do not have golden hair. I do not have blue eyes. I do not have golden hair. Having some hair is enough at this point, I believe. Having some hair is enough at this point, I believe. I'm not 20, I'm not 30, not even 40. Nor have I reached that point where wrinkles become the certificate of my struggles, of my character, of my endurance, of my wisdom. And I would feel good about the certificates. I have not reached that point yet. I hate cooking when I'm told to cook. Who burps the loudest is my favorite sport. I give a damn about charm, for I have my own kingdom. My favorite god is the one who has no stories about his prowess or being kind by sticking to just one. And no, I do not have a favorite goddess either just because I'm a woman. I do not come from the parts of the world where women are taught witchcraft or tricks of being a superwoman. I'm happy with my two arms. No more, please. I'm happy with my two arms. No more, please. As it is, the wise men and women have always said, Lalaj Guri Bala. So basically, this was to express about expectations from women of being superwomen, right? And
Right. And even like it's not even applicable to one gender. I think it's a very general poem in one way also. Like,
absolutely,
to be
absolutely.
secure about yourself, like whatever way you've been built. That's a lovely poem. And I love the the Hindi line in the end. Nice twist to it.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Ma'am,
And like I said, I would perhaps just
Beautiful.
add a line here. Thank you, Sunilji. So like you said, Ankita, I'll just add a line here. Like you said, it is not gender specific. To your earlier question, human minds are not without bias. And like in any field or every field, I believe that each one of us has to find our own way amidst all the biases. While groups might help us fight a bias, but there are groups that might create another bias. So I think it is up to us individually to fight all of these things and work out what works best for us.
That is,
I think
really nice
all of us here are good examples of that. Sunil ji became a doctor in those days, and Gauri and I are almost of the same age, and we
so,
all
ma'am,
found
actually,
a way
Neelam, ma'am, what you're
without
saying,
fighting.
I would like to just direct this question to all of you, like an open discussion thing. Like, I think all of you here are not poets by profession or something, like a full-time professional poet or something like that. So there are children, like in my class as well, I see children who aspire to be poets, like professional poets. So how difficult is it to be poets, and how is the bias there? Like is it possible even to become like a poet, like a full-time poet as a professional poet? Can you be that? Or do you have to choose a field side by side? Will it sustain? Can we talk about that?
It's very difficult, to be only a poet, because paisa kahan se aayega? Sabse bada rupaiya. So I was listening to one talk by Piyush Mishra ji in Delhi in Jashn-e-Hind. So what he was saying was he performed for almost 20 years and he was hardly getting any money and he was surviving on his wife's salary. बट हाँ, कुछ लोगों को ब्रेक मिल जाता है बॉलीवुड जैसी जगहों में, फिर वो लोग करोड़ों कमाने लगते हैं. But ऐसे examples are just one in millions. So I suppose it is very difficult and you have to make that choice. Whether to be
related to this question only.
Poet.
Right. Related to this question only, Sunil ma'am, what does it mean to be, is it important to be a full-time professional poet, or does life happen together? Like people generally ignore life to become poets, like they get too much into technicalities of poetry. So how do you balance both the things there? Like, you being a gynac by profession, having a family and then being a poet, like how do you balance all these things together on your plate?
See, when I was growing up, when I was about to choose, not I was going to choose a profession during my growing years, it was the parents who told you what you were to become. We were not asked, we were told, and we took it. We didn't know any other way. That was how people lived those days. And so I was fooled into believing that I was very intelligent and that I could become a doctor. And so I became a doctor. But you will find a chapter in my book, Gypsy Wanderings, Reflections of a Misfit. And I always felt a misfit somehow. But I didn't know, and I usually joke, I said, It took me 70 years to discover that my core being was of an artist. I didn't know I was artistic, inside my core being. But the inner being kept struggling to come out. And I was fortunate to be in medical college. I got into acting. I was a gold medalist throughout 5 years there for acting. And then I was on the stage for declamations, winning prizes all around. That was a big outlet for me because my studies were going down. I was miserable. I was not happy in that place at all. It was just not my ambience. It is too cold, harsh. You will find all that in my book if you read it. And I was a very soft person, a softie, really. I could cry at the drop of a hat. And you see, it was a struggle for me. But then when I got married and I was raising a family and I was practicing for a living, I realized my father had made a wise decision. Because for women, there were not many avenues those days. There was a big restriction. And there were just a few professions which were respectable.
True.
See, that thing about respectable professions. And even the men, poets, writers, bhuke marte the, most of them. I know of, personally, I know of so many. I won't name them, but from Jalandhar, we had some renowned poets. Renowned means Sahitya Academy and all that awarded and all. But they committed suicide in the end. And actually, bhuke mare hai wo log. So it was not considered a respectable, arena for women to go into. Though there were women who did it as a hobby. But then I realized that I could integrate my profession and my inner urge to be creative, to help humanity on another level. I was a member of, president of lots of forums, lots of clubs, which were not social clubs as such, but service clubs, like Lions Club and all. And I could integrate my practice with that urge to serve humanity because I could look after my patients on another level as well, as human beings as well, besides their medical needs. So it was a big struggle. It was a very big struggle. Managing a family, being an obstetrician means 24/7 plus. There's no end. There's no end to the number of hours you work. Every hour is a working hour as an obstetrician. And doing my family work, and even sometimes there were no servants. We had to be cooking, cleaning, everything. And in the beginning, practice is a big struggle those days. Now you can get loans and have big hospital, 5-star facilities in a hospital. When we started, we were almost like starting in a garage. It was like that, most of us. And it was a very small thing, and then we had to build up.
Right.
So it was a big struggle. And
Right.
I
think that struggle is important. Yeah.
Yes, but I would still urge the younger people who have this urge to be creative to integrate it with something which is more stable. And as Neelamji said, paisa kahan se aayega? So it is important to survive. You need money in this world.
Like, which goes well with this, something that can, sustain the art. Right.
Yes.
Ma'am, one last question to Gauri ma'am would be, what do you think ma'am has evolved in the poetry scene according to the subject, the theme selection? Like you have seen through the years, you must be knowing like what new things are imbibed today and how are they important? Like how have they evolved, the subjects of poetry?
So, like everyone else here, even I'm not a student of literature, but whatever I have read, right?
Purely from your point of view, from your experience.
Right. So whatever I have read and seen, so during the childhood, at least during my generation, right, we grew up listening to radio quite a lot, right? And through that, we actually heard a lot of songs and bhajans, abangs, and all of that. That was also poetry, right? And so that is where the introduction to poetry started. And the subjects perhaps or themes were more like love and bhakti and maybe children's poetry. But now, if you look at the themes and the subject, there's a lot of resistance poetry. There's a lot of poetry about political awareness, a lot of poetry about going beyond the biases and the boundaries, right? So I think from that perspective, the acceptability of the society also is much more. I mean, you can say a lot of things that would have otherwise been considered as perhaps blasphemy, right? Which is something that you can say now very openly and are able to educate people. So I think that way poetry has evolved fantastically, and also the society's acceptance towards newer ideas is much more now. That's what I would say.
That is very true, ma'am.
Can
now
I
this was a-
say something about this, please?
Yes, yes, ma'am, please.
You see, acceptance is there, but then that gender bias is there also. There are, I mean,
There's
I
always
as a
some kind of
woman,
resistance that will be there.
as a
Right.
woman, there is lots I cannot write, even if I feel it or I want to write it. There are words I will not use. See, because I will be judged because I'm a woman, and because I'm a certain age, because I'm a certain profession, because I have grown-up children, I have a family. So all those factors, those factors come in my way. They do, actually. I'm stating a personal fact. I cannot write a lot of it, which I want to, because I am a particular person. See, there are labels.
Identity, I think, still has to, be accepted. There's still
Yes.
more space for it now for acceptance.
But the younger children, yes, the younger girls are more liberated. I think the inhibitions are more inbuilt. It is my own inhibitions which stopped me because I grew up that way. There were
Right.
certain barriers we didn't cross. But
Right.
the younger lot, and I'm very happy that they're able to express themselves freely.
I think every generation, they have some new things to deal with.
True.
We evolve like that, just like poetry. We also evolve. Humanity evolves. The society evolves. There are newer problems to deal and newer solutions to them. I think that वो सिलसिला चलता रहेगा.
Like I was a rebellious child. I
Yeah.
don't know how my parents tackled me. So, like, I chose my career, and my father was very much against my becoming an engineer. He would say, BA ले लो बेटा, अच्छा BA नहीं करना, BSc कर लो बेटा, अच्छा BSc नहीं करना, MBBS कर लो, पर ये इंजीनियरिंग का कीड़ा निकालो. But
अच्छा ये काफी उल्टा सुना है मैंने जनरली. मतलब
नहीं,
हमारे
मेरे
हम
तो ऐसा था.
हमारे टाइम तक आते आते तो ऐसे ज्यादा फोर्स उसके लिए ही करते थे, इंजीनियरिंग करो बाकी सब कुछ करना.
पर तब का जमाना उल्टा था और
हाँ.
बोला जाता था कि लड़के नहीं मिलेंगे शादी के लिए
हाँ.
अगर तुम इतना पढ़ लोगी तो.
ज्यादा पढ़ लिख लिए तो लड़के नहीं मिलेंगे.
So I had to really fight and like मैं इंजीनियरिंग के लिए अपना कॉलेज खुद खोजने गई थी एक साइकिल पर. मुझे पता नहीं था वो कॉलेज कहाँ है जिसमें मुझे एडमिशन लेना है. मुझे ये पता था मेरे मार्क्स बहुत अच्छे हैं और मुझे एडमिशन मिल जाएगा. But I had to find the way, and the college, which was around 12-15 kilometers, I traveled 30 kilometers to reach it. And so, being a rebellious person, I do write rebellious poetry too sometimes. Some I put
That
on,
shows, ma'am.
some I don't, but I do write.
Okay, so we are running a little bit short on time, so we'll open the questions now. Priyanka, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
Priyanka,
thing
can you
is
open the
that
questions?
yes. The thing is that a lot of them are complimenting and they're just enjoying the talk here because it's kind of an informal, but yes, equally informative. So yes, we can open it for questions if maybe we can unmute them, or you can just raise your hand. Somebody in the audience who wants to ask, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. But meanwhile, I want to say that the entire session has been equally enlightening and like it flowed very smoothly, just like poetry. Because you all have been so organic, and that is why you write such lovely poems. Whether it was Gauri ma'am's poem on not being judgmental towards a woman, and a woman needs to tell herself that you don't need to constrain yourself or label yourself. It was very enlightening and something that we women should register. It should register with ourselves. I mean, unless you don't move out of the prejudice, you cannot expect the society to do that to you. Equally, Neela ma'am's, I think, like she said, she was rebellious. It was interesting to have the personal, to hear to the personal accounts of everyone, because that's how you evolve. That's how your poetry comes into being. Neela ma'am had a wonderful take on female infanticide. Unfortunately, we still have, I mean, in India, unfortunately, we are still tackling with this, with these social evils. And but yes, as everyone knows, the fight has to go on, and we have to go on and try to make the little change we can in a lifetime. And Sunil ma'am's poem actually took us back to the childhood memories. Everyone, I'm sure, was remembered of their childhood days. Lovely. It was such a smooth flowing and easygoing thing. We could really have the landscape of the village in front of us. We could actually visualize it. So different poems, different perspectives, but yet so beautiful. And I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure the audience did. So there wasn't any pointed question coming from the audience, but rather,
This was more like Priyanka. I think we can
yeah.
have one more session of poetry from like one poem from, if anybody wants to recite here, because I think that was
Yes,
the
yes,
most
yes,
beautiful
yes.
thing here.
I think yes, if somebody's interested, because we did not have a direct question. I think because it was more about sharing experiences and discussion on poetry. There wasn't a pointed question, but everybody did comment that they loved each of the poems, the renditions by each one of them. But yet, if in the audience, is there anyone who wants to render their poem, they are free to do so. Otherwise, I can have just one poem of mine, since we have we are almost finishing the session. Maybe I just try to fetch if, or if any one of you, I mean anyone wants to render a poem, we please raise your hand, or even from our guests, even from our panelists.
Okay, I'd like to recite one.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Uh,
Yes, would love to
I
hear.
write a lot of sensuous poetry also, and I write about man-woman relationships, woman-centric, about the marginalized also. I write a lot. So, but this is a sensuous poem, one of my favorite ones. On a summer's day, I wish I were a matchstick to light your cigarette with, to go up in one searing hot flame, reduced to dust, wafting with the cigarette smoke, enter your body and seep into the essence of your very being. Mingle, ignite, rekindle your fiery passions. And my very being, seeded with the aroma of your breath, bearing the fruits of forbidden love, with renewed life force, curl out as the fragrance of your presence, there beside me, when I miss you most, late, very late, into the night, while it is being kissed goodbye, lingeringly, embraced in the arms of early morning. My languorous limbs, warm still from your touch, soak in the gold of the rising sun, as I delight to hear your voice again, as I delight to hear your voice again, having stayed awake the whole night, memorizing its music for rainy days, when you are far away and I bide time, listening to the haunting melody of your voice, trying to find you in the music of your heart, imagining I'm understanding you better day by day, but getting no further than that hot summer's day when I sipped the dregs in the glass you drank from, leaving me thirsty, yet drunk forever. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Lovely, lovely.
Lovely.
That was lovely, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I would like to, since we are here, I would just like to grab the opportunity to recite one. Okay, so ma'am had a sensuous one, and here's one I written a long time back. Awaiting a storm, like the untimely rain, like the uncalled guest, like the unknown meteor, you came in my life, and my universe changed. My life soared like never before. The soul deprived of love forever had found its own refuge. The calm heart for once loved the turbulence inside. But tumultuous as was your arrival, so was your retreat. My world turned upside down like the wreckage after a storm. Now I try to find my being, collecting the pieces of the aftermath. My heart is still again, my life a lone island, awaiting a storm yet again. Smooth.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Very nice.
Yes, so even I'm ready with my poem,
Yes.
like a Sehmit's poem. So I'd like to recite that. It's titled O Nature. So, caged in the wrap of time, surrounded by lust and desire, holding on to greed for more, a bird within me wishes to fly free. Far away from shores, in the middle of nowhere,
Sneh, your voice is. Sneh,
with
your,
my life's boat, in wondering how to free my soul. It's
Yeah,
audible
yeah.
now. It's clear
Yeah,
now.
the thing is this connectivity
Okay.
issue, I guess. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. You want me to repeat it or I'll continue?
You can continue. Yeah.
Okay. I miss the shine of sun, the song of birds, the clouds hugging to the winds, hugging the winds, the purity of dewdrops anti-love. I desire yet to quench my thirst. I yet aim to fly free. I have emotions that are meaningless, courage that is worthless. I have a journey ahead that is aimless. I dream yet to reach my destination. I yet pray to fly free. In a jungle of steel and concrete, packed with scores like me as sardines, tied in knots of social bonds and hopeless hopes, I see my shadow amidst millions. I do not learn yet and change. I still yearn to fly free. O nature, dear nature, are you listening? This was written by Sehmat in Urdu, and this was then translated by Mr. Sikka, and it was published in his book Calling Sehmat. Thank you.
Lovely.
Very
poetry.
nice.
Thank you
Very
for sharing.
nice.
Thank you.
I just want to share two words, not two words, few words. There was a prompt for writing a story about life within 50 words. And I somehow, probably being a doctor, I completed it in 12, 13 words, which was first breath in, last breath out. A story ends between two bookends. So you've ended this story beautifully, dear. Please carry on. Congratulations to all of you. Beautiful session. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Read out 4 Marathi lines. I had promised Priyanka that.
Sure, please.
रात्रीची कविता अंधाराला घाबरून माझ्या मनात घर करते. रात्रीची कविता अंधाराला घाबरून माझ्या मनात घर करते. दिवसा उजेडी लख्ख उन्हात काळोखाची भर करते.
Wow. Very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Can you
And
translate that for me? I didn't understand.
Yes. So, fearing the dark, poem of the night takes refuge in my mind and adds darkness to this bright sunny day.
Oh dear. That's beautiful, profound.
And till Priyanka joins, I'll also say one more 4-liner. मैंने लफ्ज को आग बनाया, एहसासों को चिराग बनाया. मैंने लफ्ज को आग बनाया, एहसासों को चिराग बनाया. अंधेरों में घूमी जुगनू बनकर, अंधेरों में घूमी जुगनू बनकर, जिंदगी को गुलजार बाग बनाया, जिंदगी को गुलजार बाग बनाया.
Wow.
Wow. Kya baat. So, I guess if Priyanka is not joining, we could still kind of drop.
Can you hear me? I have joined actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So,
There's a
Priyanka, we
there was
used
connection
your
issue.
absence to read 2 more
I
poems.
did
but think we
attend. I joined when you were reciting, so I didn't miss.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, thank you so much. Actually, we would love. I think we should have another, poem recitation session. Next time we'll have that. I think,
No, you can
or we can
invite.
definitely connect. Yeah.
We'd love that.
And thank you all the speakers. Thank you Sunil ma'am, Neelam ma'am, and Gauri ma'am, and even Ankita for conducting a wonderful session. We had some wonderful time, and it was very pleasant. It was very pleasant hearing you all.
Yes.
Our pleasure too.
We enjoyed every minute. Thank you so much.
We
Thank you, Priyanka, Ankita.
it was a treat for the audience. Thank you so much.